Alright, so today I'm at the Yanghwajin Jeoldusan Catholic and Protestant Christian Shrine and Martyrs Cemetery. I'm going a little bit into Korea's Christian history as well as my own personal Christian history as well. So I'm looking forward to this. So I hope you guys enjoy this as well. So come ride with me. This channel is called PJOP. Some people may wonder what it stands for. Well, it's short for Pastor Joe Park. That's me, by the way. And honestly, sometimes it feels like that was bound to happen. My dad was a pastor, and before him, my grandmother, a strong, passionate woman of faith, was a female evangelist in Korea. And she raised her son, and then later she helped raise me in the church. And yet, for many years, I tried to run away from being a pastor. To be honest, there were even seasons where I tried to run from church and from God. I remember this one time as kids, someone asked me and my two brothers, which one of you guys is gonna grow up and become a pastor? And I thought to myself, no way, man, not me. Back in the early 1980s, we lived in Tennessee. I was maybe 6 or 7 years old. My dad led two small immigrant churches, one in Knoxville and the other in Chattanooga. Every Sunday, we load into our Oldsmobile station wagon and spend hours on the road driving an hour and 45 minutes each way between the two cities. I don't remember much about the sermons or the services, but I do remember one of the churches had an old soda pop vending machine, and my hands were small enough that I could reach up into it and help myself to a bottle of Coca-Cola. Now that was my kind of Sunday blessing. And during those long drives, I remember sleeping in the back of the car. We'd fold the seats down and lay out blankets in the trunk, and we'd knock out like it was our own little motel on wheels. Later, we moved up to New Jersey. My dad pastored another Korean church there. I didn't think much about faith at the time. I was too busy playing sports with the other church kids. And as the pastor's kid, I somehow ended up being the unofficial ringleader of our little gang of rascals. We got into our fair share of mischief, but nothing too serious. Now, I don't remember many of the Bible lessons or Sunday school teachings, but what really sticks with me most were the Korean barbecues at the park. I may not have been the holiest little boy back then, but now that I look back, considering where I am today, I have to believe something from those early days rubbed off. Something good. Maybe it was grace, already working in the background through the long drives, the shared meals, the quiet faith of my parents and grandmother. Now here I am. I've now arrived at the Jeoldusan Korean Catholic Martyrs Memorial and Shrine. Korea was once known as the Hermit Kingdom. For centuries, this land remained isolated from the rest of the world, culturally, politically, and spiritually. Before Christianity arrived, Korea wasn't shaped by religion, at least not in the Western sense. It was, and in many ways it still is, deeply rooted in Confucianism. It's more of a worldview centered on hierarchy, family, and moral order. Maybe that's why there was so much resistance when Christianity first arrived. Now, some people trace the earliest Christian influence on Korea back to the Shilla dynasty through Nestorian Christians traveling along the Silk Road. But the first real exposure came in the mid-1800s through the Catholic missionaries. Jeoldusan, where I'm standing now, holds a painful and powerful place in that history. The name means beheading mountain. And it was here, during the Byungjin persecution of 1866, that hundreds of Korean Catholics were executed for refusing to renounce their faith. And yet, despite that violence, the message of the gospel began to take root. Interestingly, it was the Confucian scholars, those most devoted to tradition, who started to find harmony between their worldview and this new faith. They saw a kind of order in the relationship between Father, Son, and God's people, and somehow it made sense. Inside the Jeoldusan Museum, you'll find paintings that imagine what it would have looked like if Jesus had been born in Korea, clothed in hanbok, walking through a village of traditional Korean homes. It's a powerful reminder that the gospel isn't bound to one culture. It can be incarnate and take on new life wherever it's received. Next to Jeoldusan is Yanghwajin, which serves as a cemetery for foreign missionaries to Korea. After Catholicism, Protestant Christianity arrived a little later, mainly through missionaries who came not just to preach, but to serve. One of the earliest missionaries was Dr. Horace Newton Allen, a medical missionary, and along with him there were others like Rosetta Sherwood Hall, and they helped introduce Western medicine to Korea. It was through their efforts, and also of those such as pioneering Presbyterians like Horace Underwood and Mary Scranton, and Methodists like Henry Appenzeller, that Korea saw its first modern hospitals, schools, and churches. Yanghwajin is where many of those missionaries now are laid to rest. They came from across the ocean, often with little more than a calling and a heart for the Korean people. And they gave everything, not just their skills and energy, but their whole lives. Some of them lost spouses, some buried children here, and many never returned home. And they did all of this because they believed Korea deserved not only a better society, but the hope and grace that can only be found in Jesus. I have to admit that walking through this cemetery, I'm quite humbled right now. For a lot of Koreans who grew up overseas, whether their families were deeply religious or not, church played a big role in their lives. And it wasn't just about faith, it was about finding community in a foreign world that didn't always understand them. Church became the place where you could hear your mother tongue again, where someone would ask you if you ate. It was a place where on every Sunday there was a hot bowl of rice, some sort of hot Korean soup, and there was always kimchi on the table. Some people became Christian through that, others didn't. But for everyone, church became a kind of cultural home, a safe place where Korean identity was passed down in small but meaningful ways. For some of us, it's where we made our very first friends. It's where some even met the person they'd marry. Which reminds me, I'm late for lunch with my wife. We're meeting up today for a Brooklyn burger, which is some of the finest burgers Seoul has to offer. Now I gotta say, that's one fine burger. Another reason to be thankful for the foreign missionaries who came to Korea. They brought more than the gospel. They might have planted the seeds for good burgers too. For me, when I reflect back on my younger years, if it weren't for church, I probably really would have struggled to not only know that I was Korean, but to learn to accept it as well. Most of my friends outside of church, they weren't Korean. But on Sundays, I saw people who looked like me. I heard the language, I tasted the food, and slowly, church helped shape the way I understood who I was. Now, of course, this isn't unique to just Koreans. I imagine it's a similar story for people of many different backgrounds, whether you're Filipino, Indian, Nigerian, Chinese, Latino, you name it. In this global world, church has been more than just a place of worship. It's been a cultural anchor, a place to belong. And even though I believe that in heaven there's no race or nationality or hierarchy, no dividing walls, here on earth, our cultural identities still matter. And for many Korean Americans or American Koreans like me, it's hard to look at who we are without looking through the lens of church. And that's part of the reason I've been working on my book, Who I Am, a memoir of an American Korean in search of identity. It's full of stories like this, memories on the move, reflections on faith, culture, and growing up in between. If this video resonated with you, I'd really appreciate if you guys could like and subscribe. There'll be more bike rides, more stories, and more conversations about life, faith, and identity. So by the time this video comes out, it should be Good Friday or Easter weekend. And if anything, I just want you to know that just like a lot of these missionaries died for us Koreans so that we can know Jesus Christ, that whether you're Korean or whether you're from anywhere else in the world, that Jesus loves you and that Jesus died for you and that salvation only comes through faith in Jesus Christ. Happy Easter, everybody. Hope you guys are blessed.